Here we go. You sound insane. You realize that? Shockingly hard. You insensitive asshole. Very disappointed, gentlemen. Very disappointed.
Well, anyway, so we just hopped right into it, haven't we?
Yeah.
Listen, we said we were going to be talking movies, sports, pop culture, politics, and we started off with a little bit of movie talk. That was nice too, because we didn't really have a way of segueing into the intro for this. So I don't think we have to do a lot of explaining. But the Two Bald A-Holes are back, and we are looking to expand, I guess, right? Expand our horizons, expand our talking points, and really just trying to make sure that we are having as much fun as possible and talking about the things that we want to talk about, and not just solely focused on one particular.
Yeah, we don't want to pigeonhole ourselves into just fantasy football. We've had so much feedback. I don't really know much about that, but you guys are fun, and we want you to hear things that you're thinking about, you're talking about, you're watching. If you're watching a movie, you're watching a show, or you're talking about politics. If we're just talking about fantasy football, we're just too pigeonholed.
Well, plus nobody's talking about politics, so this is going to be tough.
Oh yeah, nobody knows that. Yeah.
I mean, we're aiming for a very niche market, very small audience.
In all honesty, the people that talk about politics almost always only talk about politics, right?
It's crazy.
Like if you put Rachel Maddow on, she's only talking about politics, right? And then you put on someone else and they're only talking about sports, like Colin Cowherd, only talking about sports. Right. Joe Rogan, we both like Joe Rogan, but he's only doing interviews with celebrities. So, I think that if we could hit on a lot of different things, then we hit everybody. And we, of course, like to talk about. We're not going to talk about anything we don't like to talk about.
Right, that's our rule.
So it'll be authentic.
Right. That's number one rule. If we don't want to talk about it, we're not talking about it.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about the Housewives. So all you women that watch the Housewives, you're not going to hear about them ever. Unless one of them jumps off a cliff, and we'll talk about that,
Right, or
have a celebratory beer or something.
Has a nip slip, or something,
Then you'll hear about it. Other than that, you're not gonna hear
pulls
about it.
Pulls a straight Britney Spears beef shot, Right. That, might cover that.
If you like the royal family, you're not gonna be hearing about that on this show, unless Meghan divorces the guy and goes out with Shaq or something. They don't talk about something like that.
or that video leaks of her and Shaq, These are the kind of things that we're going to make sure that we're focused on. Wow. I'm not too worried about our woman, listening base. But we'll see.
Yeah. If you like sports, you should probably handle what we're going to throw at you.
All right. So what we wanted to do was try our best to essentially look at what's going on out there, identify some things we want to talk about, and then ask ourselves some questions. For now, we're going to be asking ourselves these questions. And then as we get rolling on, we are going to be encouraging the audience to submit questions. Again, if we don't want to talk about it, we're just going to skip your question. We're probably going to ridicule you and, make fun of you a little bit. But,
can you imagine that Amy from Wisconsin asked us, what we thought of the Golden Girls back in the day?
What about your boy McMuffin? I love the Golden Girls.
Oh, they were awesome, weren't they?
My mom watched that show. Yeah.
There was a movie, I can't remember what it was, but the guy said, I would rather watch a naked Twister with the Golden Girls. And I have to, somebody, if you know where that's from, I can't remember off the top of my head what it was from.
I remember that line, right?
You think about that, playing nude Twister with the Golden Girls.
Oh, Betty White.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, shit.
Yeah,
and when our parents
were
being born.
So we're gonna hop right into it, and we're gonna cover some more recent, some of the recent events in sports, politics, and movies. We're going to start movies. Obviously, the big news in movies was the Oscars was recently, and Parasite was quite the darling. Won Best Director, Best Screenplay,
Best international movie.
Best international movie.
Best movie.
And then, of course, the Oscar
Wow.
for Best Picture.
Yeah.
Right. So, congratulations to to
Incredible.
Parasite.
First movie to ever win Best Movie.
Right.
That wasn't in English.
Correct. Best for right, exactly.
Best,
where the whole movie's in
Subtitles.
different language, right? So the question, of course, is: did we see it, and what are our thoughts? And we did see it. You actually saw it twice because you, being the great friend that you are, went and saw it for a second time with me.
Yep.
You had already seen it,
And no popcorn trick. I was disappointed.
Listen, I was trying to stay focused. This is an Oscar. This isn't this isn't Happy Gilmore or something. So your thoughts? I mean, you've seen it twice, so you've had double the time to process it. And so, what were your thoughts on Parasite?
Yeah, I thought it was very original, and that's hard to say these days. Everything is a remake of some kind. I mean, how many times we were watching it? We saw a preview of some guy that's going to be turned into a Vin Diesel is going to be turned into a Universal Soldier, and then avenge his wife's death. Meanwhile, he's not supposed to have any memories of when he was alive. Right. How many times are you going to make that movie?
Right.
And Vin Diesel's going to, he's going to be the Jean-Claude Van Damme. I mean, come on, it's getting ridiculous. And all, I always complain about comic book movies. I think they're ridiculous. I think we're out of control with these things. Martin Scorsese made a big comment about them, like the downfall of movies. So to say a movie's original is not easy to do anymore. So it was a very original. I watch everything on I always have subtitles because my hearings, I just can't seem to pick up on stuff.
Right. I was going to say, so you're used to this.
Yeah, I'm used to subtitles. Subtitles are everything on my TVs are subtitles. My wife and I love it. We don't ever miss anything. Then your eyes get used to watching a movie or watching a show while also reading it. And it doesn't happen. So it is difficult. So for people that don't normally use subtitles, I could see how Parasite and other movies subtitles could be difficult. But I thought it was very original. I thought the actors were great. The concept was cool. I don't want to ruin it for people that haven't seen it, but definitely go out and see it. I thought it was just, really well written, well acted. It throws you for a loop. You're not sure where it's going. And then at the end, you're just, what the hell just happened?
Right.
I thought it was very good. The movies that were up for Best Picture, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I thought it was okay. I think it was one of his better ones, but I thought it was good. I thought The Irishman was good, but I like that they gave it to this movie. I like that they gave it to a movie that just brought originality and shock and awe, whatever you want to call it. So, yeah, I'm cool with it. I mean, if there were some bigger movies, some better movies, it might have had a harder time. Right. But I think the competition wasn't as great as it normally is.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Absolutely. And, look, the Academy, I think, they're always looking to be progressive and that's the times that we're living in. So the public heat about something, if it ramps up enough, all of a sudden you'll see that the Academy or the awards in general will start to say, we're not being diversified enough. We have to make sure that awards go a certain way, which kind of stinks because of course I think it's like anything in life. It's it should go to the best. You know what I mean? So. I think you always bring up you felt that Russell Crowe deserved the Oscar Beautiful Mind over Denzel in Training Day.
And I love Denzel.
Right.
And he did a great role.
And it's an amazing performance.
But Russell Crowe's was an incredible performance that was something he had never done. Are you telling me that Denzel's never done that type of role? Come on, that's like natural for him. I mean, he's a great actor, and I don't want to diminish the performance because it was a good performance, but I thought that was definitely, hey Russell, you just beat up a reporter, we're going to punish you, and Denzel, we've been getting slack because we're not giving black people enough credit, so we're going to give you the best, and then we'll get some heat off. I hate that. And
that's the whole thing because, and that's not a racial thing to say because I want the same thing to apply to me. If that makes sense, So if I didn't do the best, I don't want an award, or I don't want anybody to say I did the best simply because of the color of my skin or my nationality or what country I'm from or anything like that. So, but again, to take it back to Parasite, I'm not saying that that's what happened and that's why it got Best Picture, but it was interesting that because usually what you see is the Best Picture winner. You're going to see that it won the Golden Globes or the Writers Guild or the what's the British one or whatever. So there's usually some indicators where you could see that what movie kind of appears to be in line to win Best Picture. So Parasite kind of coming out of nowhere and taking the Oscar. But on the other hand, absolutely, I thought it was a phenomenal movie. Like you said, from an originality standpoint, the writing. I actually read an article where they did an interview with him, and he talked about how he really struggled with the decision in the end and which direction to go. And again, we're not about giving spoilers, so can't say too much, but you could just see how much effort and thought went into every shot, and that guy was almost on this mission, Bong Joon-ho or whatever. So, for example, one of the things that's on my list is to go back and watch, his previous films. I'd seen Snowpiercer. I don't know if you saw that one. That's the one where they're on a train. So he plays with that theme a lot. The theme in Parasite is essentially class and wealth and different things like that. And Snowpiercer is a really good one. But he also did one called Okja, if I'm saying that correctly, OKJA. And it's about, I believe, a kid and it's his giant pig. And it takes on more animal rights and things like that. Jake Gyllenhaal is in it. It's like such an under the radar thing. But yeah, and Snowpiercer, for example, was also a heavy American cast. It's in English. Chris Evans is like one of the main characters, Tilda Swinton. So absolutely, I definitely want to check out some of this guy's previous films.
You got me interested now. Hopefully our listeners, that's why we're here.
And what a great, we were talking about this as well, just want to touch on this real quick. What a great acceptance speech.
Yes.
And just such a...
For Best Director.
Absolutely. Yeah. When he won the Best Director.
He didn't speak of Best Picture.
Right. But when Best Director, the way he mentioned Scorsese and studying his films, and then, a thank you to Tarantino for... As he said, his list, Tarantino every year puts out his list of, like his top movies of the year.
Yeah, he had a shot at him.
Right. And he would, because Tarantino, that guy probably watches, he's watched films that, most of us probably never heard of, but
the amount of stuff I watch, I can't even imagine what he watches. I watch a lot.
Right.
So it's like that guy, that's his life.
Oh, yeah, no, he could tell you about like some hot filmmaker out of Denmark. Right?
Yeah, exactly. God only knows. But I want to go back to that because when he gave the speech, if you haven't watched it, you can YouTube the Oscars, his acceptance speech of Best Director. I've never seen a winner get up there and really thank people in what I sense is a very authentic way and get the reception from the other nominees who are all devastated.
Right.
They all want to get up there.
Right.
And they all think they're deserving. And your ego, you're like, oh, it's going to be me, it's going to be me. You get your acceptance speech written and you're like, so they all were like really honored at how he said thank
Absolutely.
you, how he talked about Scorsese when he was young and he grew up. Scorsese was just like this, and Quentin. It was pretty cool, man. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. What movie was kind of had the momentum? I can't even remember. What was taken Best Picture?
The Best Picture of was 1917. Was the Golden
Globes, right? Was
and then you had Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which was definitely a nominee. The Irishman was a nominee, and I think The Joker, which was a phenomenal movie.
Right.
I will say The Joker was probably the one I would have picked
for Best Picture.
Parasite, because I know it was his performance, and it's hard to separate his performance because he's just so damn good. He's like the Daniel Day-Lewis. Those two are just right. They just whenever they touch becomes amazing. And they're both weirdos. I guess you got to be weird to be that good.
I guess so.
But anyway, I thought The Joker was a great movie because we've seen The Joker, we've seen Batman, we've seen them. But that rendition of bringing in mental health and not just making it about some nut job that's a criminal, but really showing, like when they closed this hospital, said, sorry, we can't give you the treatment anymore. And yeah, it was. I thought that was the movie I would have probably picked, or Parasite, not Once Upon a Time or Irishman.
Right.
Casino, we've seen all that a million times. So.
Yeah, Joaquin, real quickly, man. What a space cadet he is, huh? I don't understand it. Is he on drugs when this is happening? Because I feel like I have seen an interview or two where, he's able to just,
He's normal, like just...
Somewhat. Look...
I've never seen it.
Right, yeah. Look, everybody's got their own personality, and, so what's the word? He's eccentric, if somebody's eccentric or whatever the case may be.
Maybe introverted, maybe shy.
Right. So you're never going to have, okay, fine, you're not going to necessarily always get this perfect interview. You're going to have that shyness that might be coming through or whatever the case may be. But, man, just, is talking about, cows and it's just what is your thought process? Because that's the thing that I wonder, that to me, he had all the momentum, right? I mean, so it was going to be a upset if he doesn't win the Oscar.
Yeah,
I mean, he was
you almost
collecting
have to
every
do
single
something.
one. So he had to know that there was a very good chance that he was going to get up there to give his Oscar acceptance speech. And so that means he went up. In the night before and all day leading up, he was still thinking, this is going to go over well.
I don't think he does.
This is what I want to do
I think
with
you're
my
thinking,
time
like,
up there.
I think you're thinking about a typical guy getting like Brad Pitt when he gets up there, or Leonardo, or whoever. They get up there and they're very worried about their image. They want to have something that they've rehearsed, and maybe reading out loud. Some of them will read it, memorize it, whatever.
Right.
I don't think he gives a shit about any of that. And I think that what he gives a shit about is, he mentioned during the Golden Globe speech about everybody here, can we all make a pact and we're not going to take private jets
Right.
to go, and everybody's just like, shut the hell up, I'm taking my private jet. I think he's really somebody who is rich and is a celebrity and one of the best actors of our time, of all time maybe, when it's all said and done, who is somebody who, despite the wealth, despite the fame, does care about things, is authentically, caring about the environment, about the fires, and about us polluting the environment, and has a heart for animals, and wants to get up there because, as Kaepernick, we've talked about Kaepernick. When you have a passion for something, there's only certain times where you're going to be able to speak to everybody. Joaquin Phoenix during acceptance speech, you don't speak during the Joker, you just act. So,
Right.
and that, who's watching his interviews in obscure ways? But man, during the Academy Awards, you got the audience. Everybody's watching. Everybody's watching the Golden Globes. So that's his time to say what he feels, and I think that's what he does. He doesn't just get up there and thank all the millions of people that everybody else does. He's just wants to get up there and wants to try to use his fame to help the issues of society. I really think he authentically does that. It comes across as very weird, very eclectic and eccentric and all that stuff, because I think he's an introverted guy who, on the camera he's fine, but he's just not socially. He's up there. Dude,
Right,
people have stage fright. I think he has stage fright.
Okay, and well, that's my whole thing. Because here's what I can't understand about that, right? So that's what I'm saying. Listen, if you get caught off guard, right, in an impromptu interview, and you're not able to, clearly and effectively communicate what you want to say, but how is it that you can learn the lines to a script and go out and be a whole different character and deliver this dialogue, but you can't pull off being able to give that speech? So it is very interesting to think that, wow, you're right, maybe that's stage fright. Because the different thing is, listen, when you're on a movie set, it's closed off somewhat. There's people around, but it's a more comfortable atmosphere.
And you have a lot of
same
takes.
people, right?
A lot of takes, and you're memorizing your lines, you're rehearsing your lines, you're having table
and you're not yourself.
readings, and you're not.
So nobody's judging you because this is Joaquin speaking. It's you're able
assuming
to filter through this character.
You're assuming he does what most people I think do, which is prepare a speech. I don't think he prepares.
I think
a speech. And that's the thing. When I've had to give quite a few best men speeches. My brother's wedding, one of my best friends in Hawaii, and different people. My cousin Phil, your boy, different people have asked me to be the best man. When I get up there, I don't ever plan my speech. I don't ever write it down. I don't memorize it. I just want it to come from the heart because I feel like that's authentic, and I feel like that will be the best speech anyway. So I think that's what he's doing. I think he wants to get up there and just say whatever's on his mind. He kind of knows it's going to be something about the environment or animals or planes or whatever, and he just gets up there and he just wings it. And then because of the stage fright, introverted, oh my God, everybody's watching me. It's not like being on the set. That's different. This is totally like standing up. Like when you had to give a speech in school, I used to shit my pants getting up there.
Right.
And even to this day, I've gotten much better at it. It's still, when I know I'm next to say something, you just feel the jitters. Yeah. It's just a fear. It's number one fear in the world, public speaking.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because, look, if we did this show 100 times and then all of a sudden we had to do it in front of 1,000 people, live on a stage, absolutely, I think, right, there's going to be a difference.
You would definitely choke.
Also, though, I mean, listen, it could just be as simple as he's on drugs.
Oh, no, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying for sure. I'm just a theory.
A lot of
the drugs are probably even stronger theory.
Right.
Maybe he takes the drugs because he knows he's going to have anxiety, and then all of a sudden he's up there and he's all like loopy, and then he looks at some girl's dress and it reminds him of a tiger, and he starts talking about tiger. Who the hell knows what he's doing? The guy, I mean, to get in the mind of that guy is like being in John Malkovich. I mean, there is no way to know what's really going on with Joaquin.
Right.
Like Letterman that time when he said, put the gum under the table, and
Letterman
said, well, I wish you could have been here. Yeah,
right.
But then people say that was all an act.
It was, right.
Maybe,
that
maybe
was
this other stuff's all an act.
an act.
Maybe he's just trying to get people to talk about him like we are right now. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. Congratulations, Joaquin.
We just talked about it for probably 15 minutes.
I'm sure that's your goal.
And you came out of nowhere, by the way.
To be mentioned on our podcast. That's mission accomplished. All right, so Parasite, according to the Academy, it was the best picture of the year. But obviously, there were many other movies made in 2019. So we wanted to ask the question: what were some of, or like our top 5 movies from 2019? So go ahead and you want to go one by one, throw it out.
Yeah, I mean, we could do however you want. I mean, for me, my Parasite, we talked about that to death. We won't talk about that.
But Paradise would be on your list?
Parasite's definitely top 5.
Okay, so Parasite.
Parasite's top 5. But I would say one of my favorites that didn't even get mentioned in the entire Academy is Rocket Man. I thought, and I talked to people, and everybody says Bohemian Rhapsody was better. And I think it's because they've only seen it once. Because I saw Rocket Man once, and at the beginning, there was about 10 minutes of him as a child, and he's singing, it's a musical, and I'm like, well, wait, this movie's definitely better pick up. So I'm not really even thinking about what's happening. It's just like annoying me.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, he's doing the audition.
Right.
And then I like, what the hell was that? That was the turning point for me, and I started really being engaged. I went to see it a second time, and it blew me away. I was like in tears. It was so powerful. So I think that if you've seen Rocket Man, see it a second time, because it was really well done. I thought it was very original. I thought the guy that played the part could have won Best Actor. He won, I think,
surprised he didn't
for
get
Best
nominated.
Actor.
Yeah.
Who did he win? Now, he won Best Actor, but maybe it was in something. In a comedy? No, it wasn't a comedy.
It might have been a musical. Yeah, the Golden Globes
he won. He was up there.
Has a category.
Yeah, so he won something
specifically
for acting for that movie. And I remember he snubbed Elton John, wanted a hug, but he didn't see him. Right? He went on stage. But anyway, I thought that was a great movie. So what about you?
I'll throw first one out, kind of under the radar a little. Well, I don't want to say under the radar, but I got one on my list, Dr. Sleep.
Dr. Sleep, Stephen King.
Yeah, man. I thought that was really well done. Obviously not original in one sense, but original, because it wasn't a sequel, it wasn't a remake or a retread or a reboot. Have you seen the Jay and Silent Bob reboot?
Not a fan. I have no use for either one of those guys.
Anyway.
I have no appreciation for anything they've ever done. I can't watch those
Clerks?
two. I've watched Clerks, but when those two get in, it ruins the movie for me. I can't stand Kevin Smith. I can't stand that other annoying guy, the anorexic guy. I can't deal with Silent Bob and everything. No use for either one of them. I do like Clerks. I do like Mallrats. There's a couple of their movies I like. I just don't like them.
It's got your boy Ben Affleck and Matt Damon.
Ben Affleck says, "Who's your favorite new kid?" Remember when he's having sex with the underage girl? That was pretty epic scene right there.
Anyways, the only reason I mentioned that is that he poked a lot of fun at that, and that literally there is now a difference between a remake and a reboot, and it's just, but yeah, no, Dr. Sleep, I thoroughly just remember when the movie ended, just thinking I really enjoyed that movie. So when we came up with this list, whatever came to my head, I threw out there.
Okay, so you went obscure, so I'll go obscure. On Netflix, The Two Popes, which was up for a lot of awards. Anthony Hopkins got nominated for Best Actor. The other guy got nominated that played Pope Francis for Best Supporting Actor.
I haven't seen that.
Two Popes. I just saw it on Netflix. I saw the two actors. They're both good, obviously. And I was like, yeah. And I read a little bit about it. It's about Pope Francis and the guy that everybody calls the Nazi Pope, that actually Benedict, who gave up the papacy, quit.
To be a Nazi?
Which nobody's ever done. I think one guy did it like in 1300. To go back to the Nazi party, yeah. No, it's terrible.
I didn't know.
I'm sorry about that. Benedict, sorry about that. No, but when he got elected Pope, when he got whatever named Pope, a lot of people were like, oh, he's a Nazi. He's from Germany, whatever.
Well, he's a Nazi.
You're from Germany.
You're from Germany. You're a Nazi.
He started two world wars.
Germany,
there's only been two, and Germany caused them.
Right.
So anyway, now I watched the movie, and it's an incredible movie. It's a true story about Pope Francis was an Argentinian cardinal, whatever they're called, bishop, and he was really upset when Benedict got in because he's a conservative guy. He's much more liberal, very liberal, all about the poor. He he's, what do they call him, a Jesuit priest, which basically means he takes on a vow of poverty his whole life.
Right.
So he hated the whole gold and all the crap. If you watch Pope Francis, he doesn't wear anything. He wears he doesn't sleep in the papacy, he sleeps with everybody. He deals with the homeless life. He's just an amazing, I love him. I love Pope Francis. But anyway, Pope Francis didn't want to be Pope. He wanted to quit. And he gets summoned to Rome by Pope Benedict. That's the whole premise of this movie. And then Pope Benedict starts asking him questions because he wants to step down because of the whole child abuse scandal and the way he mismanaged it. He wants out. He just thinks he deserves to be out or whatever. And he wants to know, well, Francis, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And he goes, well, everything you think is the opposite of what I think. So it's like, all right, well, here, can you sign my resignation papers? Because he needs the Pope to sign it. And where it goes from there, it's just amazing. I didn't know the story. The fact that I didn't know the story.
Right, obviously a true
like
story
amazing.
then. Okay.
And the acting, these two actors they both are awesome in their performances. And then, the end they show the two of them in real life. And it's like, oh my God, this is crazy. What a great story. So I'm glad somebody wrote it. The acting was great. It's a movie most people haven't seen. I would definitely recommend it.
All right. Yeah. No, that's definitely one.
Whether you're religious or not, whether you're Jewish or Christian or atheist, it's a great movie.
Well, since you brought it up, we'll stay on the Nazi topic because we're not doing these in any particular. I'm not doing mine in any particular order. I don't know if you saw it. I texted you, I think, just a day or two ago that it's a must watch, and that's Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
And yeah, Jojo Rabbit. You want to talk about a delicate balance? I mean, to do a movie about a kid whose imaginary friend is Hitler and not
offend the whole world.
Yeah, you didn't hear a peep of controversy. And it's because of how he did it, how he handled it,
tough.
What the overall message was, and where he ended up going with it. But I mean, just great performances. The little kid's great. The director, Taki Wahidi, I don't know how you say his name, but he's great, man. I love him. I haven't seen all his. He's another guy like Bong Ho that I want to go back and watch, some of his earlier stuff. I had never heard of the guy until all of a sudden he was directing the new Thor and people through a tantrum thing. But listen, I will say this, just real quickly, going back to Scorsese and his comments, and comic books aren't cinema, or comic movies aren't cinema. I gotta say, man, I actually didn't like that. I kind of lost a little bit of respect for Scorsese because at least when you look at Marvel, I mean, think about it. They have this franchise that they know is hundreds of millions of dollars on the line and all this kind of stuff. And every one of those movies, all those Marvel movies, if they make a really bad movie and it tanks, it's going to possibly affect all of them. I mean, I'm sure they can recover a little bit, but you look at what they did with the Guardians of the Galaxy, turn it over to a guy like James Gunn, some director nobody had ever really heard of. He was like, kind of making these more obscure type films. And they say, and they take a chance on him. And he brings his own style and he brings an element to it. It's not cookie cutter where, listen, we make movies like this and we follow this very strict formula. They actually go out there, and so they give the Thor movie to some New Zealand director that nobody's ever heard of,
right.
that made some movie that was buzzy with the critics and at Sundance and all that, and they say, here, we're going to give you the sequel to Thor, a setup as we're getting closer to our biggest movie of all time, the Avengers and all that. So, I mean, I get where he's coming from, that, it's obviously not original because these characters have been in existence for a long time, but at least they're taking the chance and saying we're going to turn these movies over to some directors that and say, do your thing, bring your style, bring your touch.
I can see that part.
And so anyways,
I think one of his frustrations is that all the money in Hollywood now seems to be like, because of how much they bring in.
Of course.
And it's almost if you told all doctors that, hey, listen, we're going to give you 10 grand if you cure cancer, but we're going to give you 100 billion if you figure out how to make guys erect harder, or like, what was the Idiocracy?
Absolutely. Right.
The doctors are all working on baldness
right.
and penis enlargement.
Right.
And it's like, so I think that's kind of what he's saying.
I support both of those.
I know.
Top,
anybody got a tip for the former?
That's where all my charity money goes.
But, I think that's what he's saying, is that we're incentivizing comic book movies rather than incentivizing Jojo Rabbits or Parasites. And I'm hoping that now that we've seen some original movies this year and some really good performances, I'm hoping that, because it's just every time you look up, it's another Marvel. It's like, okay, fine, they're giving it to original directors, and I like that. I don't know. I think that's what he meant. I think he would agree with that. It's not all
that part, right. But
it's just,
from the standpoint of if for every dollar that gets put into a big comic book, it's one less dollar that could be going to that Parasite, for example. You know what I mean? Where you have this guy who's got this original idea, he's got this script, and all he needs is somebody to green light it, and he's probably going into meeting and hearing, we're not going to put our money behind it. It's not comic book. It's not a reboot.
If you can make it an alien coming down and biting a vampire, and a werewolf, it's like looking like zombie. Can you do zombies instead of the instead of the Korean guys, just have some zombies running around? Like, he's like, what?
Can we just take the main guy, make him a superhero?
That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we're just dumbed down as a public. Like Walking Dead, and like every time you turn around, Zombieland 1, Zombieland 2, and Shaun of the Dead, and it's like all these movies about, what are all those Twilight movies? I mean, it's gotten to the point where it's not just comic books. It's also vampires. How big were they? I'm saying they were huge. Well, they were like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And there's another one, Harry Potter.
She's coming out with some kind of prequel, something. You knew that wasn't going to be over with.
But there's just so many of the Divergent series and the Hunger Games. These are garbage, to be honest with you. I mean, I thought they were garbage. We're dumbed down as a culture. We just want to see special effects. We want to see crazy. I don't know. I want to see more original, and I don't think there's enough incentive to make them.
No.
So maybe Parasite, with all these awards, and now this guy's famous as hell. He's all over everything. Maybe stuff like that, and Jojo Rabbit, original cool ideas, and flirting with disaster. Because man, we're making a movie where we're making fun. Like, we're making it fun to be a Hitler and a kid. We're Nazi. It's like, holy shit, dude. We're gonna have a lot of Jewish people and sympathetic people that are like, what are you, out of your mind? Making a joke about Hitler? Are you crazy? Like, there's nothing funny about Hitler. But you know what? You got to be able to make fun of anything, and I like that we have in this PC freaking world. That's PC. That we could do that.
That's what I was. That's what I was happy to see, that there wasn't this huge outrage that happened over this movie.
Shocking.
Maybe it is allowing, or giving us some hope that this whole. Because we've become way too overly PC. I mean, how the hell do you get Blazing Saddles made in the 70s, but yet, if you tried to make that movie nowadays, you just, I think the thing that what this society, what we need right now more than anything, is to learn to laugh at each other and laugh about some of these things, and not, take everything so damn seriously. And,
I'm reading a book called The Coddling of the American Mind, amazing book my brother recommended. It's all about coddling, which is basically babying and enabling. And so what's happening on college campuses now, I didn't think we'd be talking about this, but that's what I like about this. If there's a speaker coming to the campus, and there's a group of, so let's just say that weirdo guy that was like Miko, whatever his name was.
Right. Yep.
He's like a flamboyantly gay, but he's Republican. He worked for Bannon's company, whatever. But he would go to campuses, and he loves to stir the shit. Very, very eccentric, very articulate, and he just loves to push people's butts. So he was going to some, liberal college, whatever, Berkeley or whatever it was, and they were like, "No way, he's coming here!" And they protested, and it gets a little violent, and then they'll be screaming and heckling him when he's trying to speak, and then they'll say, these students, they need, their emotions are hurt. They need to be massaged. They need to have people there. So they're very delicate, and everybody's trying to coddle them, and it's destroying them. So the generation with the millennials and this new generation, whatever it's called, Generation X, whatever it is, they're coming out of college being so coddled that when disappointment comes or rejection, they're not ready for it because they've been so babied. Kind of like a spoiled kid. You give him everything, and then all of a sudden he doesn't appreciate it. Right. He doesn't know how to take no for an answer and all that. So I think that's kind of another problem with this PC generation.
And it's also allowing us not to be real, and I think there are certain things that we should be able to talk about on a real, level. Like, for example, recently you had Rush Limbaugh, obviously, the headline was, you would think that he went out and just bashed gay people, and like the way they presented it.
Oh yeah,
and you read it, and it's like, okay, what he essentially put out there was that his thought is he's not sure if America is going to be ready to see a man as president kissing another man up on that, I forgot to use the inauguration day or whatever as the example. But look, that to me, it's like, why can't we have that talk? Why can't we have that talk? We have to be real, and we have to be asking ourselves these questions, because if you're Democrat, you're on the left, and your whole thing is beating Trump, then that should be that's a question that should be perfectly fine to talk about and ask. But it's almost like we live in this society where, oh well, that if I even entertain or bring up something like that,
you sound
now I'm being attacked as being homophobic and all that. So it's really the same thing with whether it's race and all these different topics.
Yeah, you had the Me Too movement. So if you got to be very careful. I like the Me Too movement. I like Black Lives Matter,
you're a big fan.
but I also like Blue Lives Matter.
Right.
The cops are like, well, what about Blue Lives? And then gay lives matter. Whatever. I'm fine with all of that.
Right.
I think we should all treat each other like humans. And the LGBTQ community, this whole trans, the bathrooms, and it's tough. But somebody, I think Joe Rogan said.
Trans, yeah.
Rogan said he didn't, and I don't mean to misquote you if I misquote you, Joe, my buddy Joe. He said basically that if you're born a man, as far as the anatomy, and then you say I'm a woman, which I'm not saying that I empathize with these people. It's got to be brutal, and I believe it's real. I don't think it's a mental disorder. I think it's real. So anyway, if you say, okay, I want to be a woman, I am a woman, and I want to, and then you're going to go fight in UFC, you're going to be slaughtering people, and he was mentioning something.
Well, that's what happened.
That's what happened. The shit out of every
but
woman,
he took some heat for
he was anti. It's
right.
like, listen, you got to be able to speak your truth,
and
not offend the whole freaking world. Because I agree with him 1,000%. Let me tell you something. You put me in a ring with girls that are my. Dude, I'm a man. I was built differently.
Absolutely.
So yes, inside it's a woman, but you got to be careful, because sports are segregated for. I mean, there's men and women for a reason.
Right. And he also brought up the point that person, man, woman, that woman,
it's a woman,
woman, didn't disclose it, and then her answer was, "Well, I shouldn't have had to disclose it." Right. So, but look, Joe Rogan takes this on, right? So he takes this topic on, and he's being real about it. Let's have a real conversation. Right. But what does this society or whatever do? They take a clip from that conversation and put it out there and use that to say that Joe Rogan was
they did that. But let me tell you
insensitive
now that we're talking about that,
and it's just
now if it was only that. So my brother and a couple of his friends from San Francisco, we were on an email thread, and what happened was he said he wants Bernie Sanders. He's probably going to vote for Bernie Sanders.
Right.
And then everybody said, well, Bernie should disavow him and all his 7 million likes, because he said this thing about transgender.
Right.
Now, but what it also said was that he made a comment. He uses the N-word a lot, and not like Blazing Saddles. He just says the word. I think it's a really bad word. I agree with
Rogan does?
Oh yeah, you can go on YouTube and it'll show him every time he's saying it. It's like over and over and over and over. He says it a lot, not just once, not just twice. He says it a lot. What is behind it? Maybe for him, he's saying it the way black people say it. A lot of black people say the word in their rap songs and their different things. But for me, black people can say whatever they want about themselves. But that's a really dangerous word. When you start watching the movie, in my opinion, you might disagree, and that's totally fine. This is definitely not a I'm right or wrong thing. But when you watch the movies like The Butler, and you watch 12 Years a Slave, and you watch even Django, and all these movies about slavery, that's a freaking really vicious word. And I think it was in The Butler where the kid calls himself the N-word, and the guy smacks him across the head and says, never use that word. That is an evil word.
Right.
That's the white man's word. And I believe that. I don't think white people should use that word. I think that is, I don't think anybody should, but if black people want to use the word, let them use the word.
Right.
But he uses the word, a lot of people have a problem with that. But here's the big problem I have. That is, up for debate. He said that he went to a neighborhood and it reminded him of Planet of the Apes because there were so many black people. So those are the three problems that the whole Bernie thing.
Okay.
So he gets on and he does like a 15-minute podcast defending it, but he just defends the transgender thing, which I agreed with him on.
Gotcha.
I didn't hear him mention, and I watched the whole thing twice. I never heard him mention once about why he said Planet of the Apes or why he always uses the N-word. So for me, there is some truth to it. But if it was just that, let's just say that, forget about the Planet of the Apes and the N-word, and he's just said the transgender thing, yeah, I think that we have to be careful. And if somebody says, oh, I support you, And what are you going to go through their whole entire life? And if they ever said anything controversial or wrong, that you have to disavow them. You have to say, I don't want anything to do with that person. And that's where we're at. So that I don't like. But I also don't like when somebody gets attacked with 3 different things and they just respond to the one that's easy to respond to.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe he's responding. I haven't watched every single thing he's ever done.
Right.
But he did have a special about responding to the Bernie criticism, and he didn't say a word about the N or the plenty. So anyway, what do you think about it? You think white people should use that word?
No.
Okay.
No,
Remember when Bill Maher said House N?
Yeah, and then
And Ice Cube came on his show.
Right.
Bill apologized to him, and Ice Cube basically ripped him a new ass.
Yeah,
and Bill got
Ice Cube said,
pissed.
look, you might have thought that you might think that, the way Ice Cube explained it is, look, you're not a racist. I know you're not a racist, and you know you're not a racist, and all this kind of stuff. So maybe that made you feel like, well, I can say that.
Right.
Almost similar, again, going back to like Blazing Saddles, where like, was Mel Brooks able to say that word in front of Richard Pryor because Richard Pryor knew him so well and knew that he wasn't but the thing for me is that, there's hate attached to that word.
Yeah.
Right. So there's just no reason to say, well, let me take a word that has that much hate, ingrained into it. And let me just use it because people know that I don't. It's just easy. Just there's no reason for any white person to ever use that word.
A house. Yeah, I'm not a house N. It's
Right.
Like, whoa! Did you watch these movies where it meant to be a house N? It was fucking rape and torture and being in a box in the sun for 2 days with no. So yeah,
it's just one of the. Yeah, I mean, to me, it was surprising. Like, come on, Bill Maher needed to be educated about that.
But the other thing is that I think a lot of people like Bill and myself and whoever and we were like, oh, I'm not racist. But I don't really believe that any of us can say we're not racist at all. Yeah. Because there is racism embedded in us. When I was a kid, it would be like, yeah, these ends, whenever they did something, like Rodney King. Oh my God, my family was enraged that all the cops were the bad guys, but not the guy in PCP driving 100 miles an hour, beating up the cops that they didn't show in the videos. They showed the cops were horrible, what they did. But all of a sudden they made a hero out of this piece of shit criminal. What happened to him was terrible, and those guys should have all been fired and put in jail. But man, he was not a good person. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, this poor guy. Right. What did he do wrong? Well, he just was on PCP driving 100 miles an hour, beating up cops. So I think that there's 2 sides to it. But
the way the media and a lot of society, fed into and helped push out the during the OJ case and putting the spotlight on the police.
Right.
And,
they're all racist.
It's like, what the hell is going on here? You know what I mean? We're talking about a woman, who was clearly murdered by this man.
And the guy too, yeah.
Right. And so my whole thing is, I mean, again, the N word and all that, I mean, look, for me, that's very simple. Don't say the N word. Right. Okay. It's racism, or it has a racist, a hate-filled racist, component, element to it. But again, when trans and the Me Too movement and things like just these things that are happening in our society, which are very big issues, they're affecting the entire country, the world, society in general, right? I mean, what do we do when it comes to a trans athlete, somebody who's born a man, decides they want to be a woman? Well, right now I saw recently some girls were, they were suing or something to get the titles that the trans woman had won, taken away. And somebody gave a really good, another great, thing to think about. They said, sometimes what's been going on out there, I guess, is that you have some of these high school competitions where scholarships are on the line.
Yeah, I know. Right.
And so you have girls, maybe you have a case where girls aren't getting a scholarship on, for that athletic scholarship because they lost to.
Yeah, it's a very sensitive thing, right?
Right, but it's a sensitive thing that we should be able to talk about.
We should be able to talk about it.
And I should be able to say what I want to say.
Because somebody
exactly
looks for you to say something. Because you said before,
don't attach hate to me because I decided to just talk about something and give my thoughts. Don't attach hate. And it's just like that's what people want to do. They want to so quickly attach the hate.
And they're waiting for you to say something that they could have the excuse, the justification. You said something a little while ago. You said, well, let's say a man decides to be a woman. That's not so you misspoke. Right. But somebody take that and I was like, you're freaking anti-trans. It's a man born in a woman's body who wants to be acknowledged as being the man that he is and says this anatomy doesn't matter. I'm a woman. So But anyway, that's the problem, is that these really important issues go so far in the PC direction that it does them injustice.
Right. Because
then all of a sudden people get tired of it. Say, "Oh, are you serious?" Like Al Franken had to resign from the Senate because he's a comedian.
Right.
But a comedian with a very articulate, very intelligent, you know, and he was well loved in Minnesota. But he took a picture like this in front of a girl, just the spontaneous. I'm a stupid guy. I'm going to make it. And he had to give up his Senate seat. He's this terrible person. He's not. He's a good guy. And it's like, well, now he's got to resign. And you read that book, Coddling in the American Mind. This dean responds to a student that's really upset about one of these issues, and she responds beautifully. But there was this little word that she used, the mold of the school, and they took that word and they made her resign. They were threatening her, death threat. I mean, it's just insane how far we go.
Right.
In the Bernie supporters right now, Bernie, who's probably the most likable, most pacifist, wants to go to war less than anybody else in the world, probably wants to help everybody. Whether or not he's realistic and all that, it could be debated. But his supporters, what they're doing right now, they're attacking people. They're going after him. Biden said, you should disavow all these people. The Culinary Union of Nevada said something about, we like our health care. We fought really, really hard to negotiate this union health care. We don't want Medicare. We want this. And so we're not supporting Bernie. And the Bernie's, are you sorry? And they're threatening these people. You got to be able to speak without being threatened.
Absolutely.
No.
And you can't, listen, you can't be a hypocrite. If you want free speech, it's got to be free speech.
It's got to be free for everybody, right? Even the guys you don't like.
Right. There's a lot of, and that's what I mean. There's a lot of hypocrisy going on. There's just, but I think a lot of these things that are interfering with these things are interfering with our ability to have real conversations about these things. So all of these disagreements we may have, it used to be that, okay, we disagree. We can come together. Right. We can talk about it. We can maybe we change our minds on a few things. Maybe we don't. Maybe we just simply walk away saying we're going to agree to disagree. No. Now it's like, no, you're not allowed to agree to disagree. If I disagree with you, then you're wrong, and I have a right now to like you said, to assault people or block you from speaking because I don't agree with what you say. That's come on, like that's
just against the First Amendment, and it's just it's terrible. So I think we have a big problem because I think it's going to get to the point where, like that dean who wrote back this, the author of the book reads it. I'm going to listen to the audiobook, and he reads the letter. He said, "What's wrong with this letter?" And then he goes on to talk about what happened after the letter. And I'm like, what? So now if you're the dean of a school and somebody writes to you and they're transgender and they're upset about something, or they're upset about women's rights, whatever, or black, you almost can't even respond because what do you have to gain? Mm-hmm. You're talking to somebody that's probably just looking to attack you.
Right.
And if you say the wrong word, not the wrong sentence, the wrong paragraph, the wrong word, where that word can just be misconstrued or subjectively looked at from an angle. So now it's like, the only email you can write back is, I'm so sorry you feel that way, and I'd really like to talk to you to see how we can improve everything. That's it. That's all you can write. Because if you write anything else, you're risking your life, your job. These people had to resign. These two people from Yale, this couple had to resign from Yale over something so absolutely innocent. So I think it's going to get to the point now where you got to be careful. If you're a pundit, if you work for CNN or Fox or wherever you work for, you say the wrong thing, you're gone.
Right. Well, and that's the other thing.
That's crazy.
Right, because then so what's going to happen is everybody's going to retreat back to their, into their corner. Because that's the other thing. It's not, okay, the person over here that disagrees, okay, is the one that necessarily is going to get, in some heat or whatever they speak up. If you're here and you even slightly disagree with your camp, now your camp's going to dismiss you. So now you're so worried about getting kicked out of your camp because you say I'm a leftist this who might support these certain things, but God forbid I make one comment where I say I agree somewhat with a conservative view on something. Now I'm being chastised. Right. So again, now everybody's just going to their corners and they're sticking to their talking points. And like you said, they're looking for ways to harm, so to say, the opponents.
Right.
Rather than say, those aren't enemies. Those are people that see things differently and have disagreements with us, but they're not our enemies. It's just we are literally, everybody's kind of making enemies and saying that, if you have a certain political view or certain, view or opinion on a topic, if we disagree, that means that we've got to become enemies. We've got to put this wall up between us. And
Yeah, it's getting out of control.
Yeah.
It's sad.
So since we kind of dwindled on the pilot, how are we looking on time?
About another 5-10 minutes.
5-10 minutes, huh? All right, so we got to probably have to
Maybe-
scratch a couple things off the list.
Maybe let's talk about the Astros just to throw some sports in
Yeah,
there. Since
that's
that's
just all right. Speaking of reputable, upstanding citizens,
Yeah.
the Houston Astros. I got to be honest. I haven't done a lot of research on this. This story. I just know the general basis of it. They got caught cheating in a pretty bad way. But so the question that we were presenting is, was the punishment enough? So why don't you?
Okay. I would love to.
What do you think? I mean, give us your thoughts and actually help educate me.
I think
on what the heck
so. This
exactly
is this is kind of what happened from my point of view, and I'm not saying I have the entire A to Z on exactly what happened, but based on listening to different pundits and reading the paper and different things, the Houston Astros set up cameras to steal the signs, the pitching signs from the Yankees. Altuve got up in the ninth. Chapman threw a very rare slider, and he knew it was coming. He parked it over the thing. Then he came running around the bases. And everybody was trying, he was afraid they were going to rip off his shirt, and he was paranoid holding it, saying, "Don't take my shirt." And then, why would you do that? He runs to the dugout. I think he changed or something. He came out, and then his excuse was, "I didn't want, my wife doesn't like to see me with no shirt on." They went to his Instagram. He had his shirt off everywhere. So it didn't make, his excuse made no sense. But the whole paranoid, and then they said they saw like a protruding thing on the shoulder potentially. So they know he sold the signs, no doubt about that. But did they have some sort of electronic thing? One is fastball, two is slider, three is curveball, which they asked Trevor Bauer. They said, "Trevor Bauer, what do you think about this?" He goes, "I'll tell you what, put somebody up there that's on all the steroids they want to be on over somebody who knows what I'm
Who
throwing."
knows what I'm throwing? Yeah.
And if you know baseball, if you understand baseball, I didn't play baseball. I played softball. So this doesn't apply.
It's like the same
But,
thing. It's the same thing.
when you talk to real baseball people, they say that the hardest thing about baseball is you just don't know what's coming.
Right.
If you know what's coming, and you're like, "Oh, this guy throws 100," like every major league hitter can hit 100 mile an hour.
Absolutely.
If they know it's coming.
If they know it's
and put it right over the wall.
Right.
And that is I'm like, what?
Right.
How do you even see 100?
Right.
That's just, if they know it's coming and it's straight and it doesn't have a lot of movement, it's gone.
Right.
So it's a big scandal. They won the World Series. I look at it as this. What happened when they found out Lance Armstrong was doping? Even with all his cancer and all the great story, right? What a survivor. What an amazing accomplishment, cheating or not cheating. What did they do? They took it all.
Right.
What do they do when you win a gold medal and they find out you were doping? They take it.
Right.
You got to take it. In my opinion, you got to take it. They hit him for. Somebody said, "Oh, they hit him hard, $5 million," and I'm like, $5 million. First of all, $5 million to anybody,
Right.
outside of Bezos, but
Right.
you're talking about billionaire owner of the Astros, $5 million.
Right.
So then I say to you, $5 million is still a lot of money to him. Actually, it's not, but $5 million is a lot of money. What did he make on that World Series?
Right.
500 million, like
Right.
50 million, 100 million. Up 5 million is like if you went to the bank, robbed it for 10 million, and then the police said, "Just give us $1 million, and we'll slap you in the wrist, and you're gonna have to do a little probation." Everybody would rob banks.
Right.
So I think you got to take the World Series from them. You have to make. Somebody said to me yesterday, a good friend of mine said, "Everybody cheats." I hate that excuse.
Yeah.
I hate that. "Oh, he did terrible, so does everybody else." Listen, if you cheat and get caught, you can't. So if you got caught cheating in the SATs, well, everybody cheats. Okay.
Right. So
You
you
have your 1540. You're right. A lot of people. No, you have to be accountable to the cheating. So this wasn't some small thing. This wasn't like the idiot Patriots again filming the Bengals. Like, God forbid, how are we going to beat them without cheating? That's, I think they should get hit hard, especially since they have a record of doing this. This is like the third time they've done something, right? Spygate, Deflategate, now this.
Yeah.
So 3 strikes, you're out, but whatever. This is, you won the World Series doing this. You won the fucking World Series cheating, and in the worst way. Not with steroids, by stealing signs. Now, other teams may do it. We don't know. We know they did it.
Right.
And if, God forbid, they were to prove that this guy had the thing on him, which I don't know if it matters. I'm sure there was a way to give him a sign that it was coming,
Of course.
right?
Right.
So the bottom line is they were stealing signs, giving it to their hitters, and
Yeah,
they
you gotta
won the
imagine
World Series.
your first base
You
coach.
take the thing away from him. Pete Rose can't be in the Hall of Fame because he gambled.
Right.
And meanwhile, these guys just won a World Series.
Well, Bond still isn't in,
Take-
and Clemens.
Take the World Series, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Hands down, draft picks, $5 million. all been material. Take the World Series.
You got to take the title.
Yeah.
I don't think you give it to the Dodgers, but I think you take the title and you just.
No, you give it to the Dodgers. That's who they beat by cheating.
Yeah, but see, I think
Who else
that's where it gets challenging because you don't have any
Well,
way of proving.
The silver medal goes to gold when they take the gold. The second place finisher to Lance Armstrong gets the Tour de France,
Right, but
right?
you only have two teams that were competing for it. So
the Yankees could have been against the Dodgers if they didn't cheat against them, and the Yankees may have won the World Series. Right.
Well, there you go. Right.
All right. So
I wasn't even going there.
Just take it.
Just take it and just say, right, that's it. There was no winner that year because that, for me, I think is you need to protect the integrity of the game now.
Right.
And look, we're not, we're not fans of anybody in the the AL West. No, the Astros.
The Astros, the AL Central. I can't keep track of
which South.
They moved over from.
But the point
National
is,
League.
right. Look, but you're going to have Astros fans that now are you going to be okay if you're a Mariners fan or a Rangers fan or something like Astros we've got two titles in the last and then you're going to have to deal with but that second one just take it away and
what does that do now, right? Now teams that are doing that, if they're doing it, are like, holy shit, dude. They lost their manager. They had to fire their GM. They lost $5 million. They lost 2 draft picks. They lost the World Series.
Title. Right.
And they're embarrassed. And all those players,
and there's no title. There's no rafter to hang. There is no. There was absolutely zero benefit because I agree with you. I'd have to imagine that the benefit of winning that series, the money that came from it, and all of that far outweighs the punishment.
Right.
So without that title being also taken away, then I think you haven't really done anything to curb anybody else from doing it.
It's like
if
steroids.
anything, you're gonna have some team this year that's gonna go, hey, what a great idea.
Yeah. It's like steroids to me. I look at it and I will say that unlike this thing with the stealing signs, which is just pathetic sportsmanship. Listen, you take some steroids, those are performance enhancing. Other guys, we know other people are doing it. A lot of people are doing it back in the day. I don't know about now as much. But I don't look at that as big of a deal as far as a team concept because there's probably X amount of guys per team that are doing steroids.
Right.
And it's bad, it's not good and all that, but you're stealing signs. You literally have these huge advantage over anybody you play. Huge, as Bernie would say. But I think that if you take steroids and you look at the penalty, so if somebody comes up to Barry Bonds when he's a 180-pound guy in the minor league system of the Pirates, and you say to him, hey man, you are amazing. Your hand-eye coordination, your eye, your patience, your bat speed, all this stuff is insane.
Just need
a man, are you genetically not going to ever be able to be in the conversation with Hank Aaron, all these guys. You'll never be mentioned like that. You may one day be a guy and Juan Pierre and run and steal some bases and hit for 300. But see this right here? You stick this needle in your arm or your ass, wherever the hell it goes. I never did it, but obviously.
Well, that's proof.
Thanks. If you do that, you are going to be the best ever lived. You're going to be capable of that. A-Rod, the same thing. You're going to go from a great baseball player to one of the best, guaranteed. You're going to go from making maybe the minimum, a couple million, to $20, $30 million, life-changing money. Who's saying no to that? I got to say, all the haters that rip on Bonds and rip on all these people, what are you going to do? Somebody opened up a briefcase with $50 million, said stick a needle in your ass. That guy pitching against you's doing it. He's throwing 102. He should be throwing 93. So now he's going to be the one that impacts you getting to the game, to the show. No, you do it too. So my thing is, I don't know. I know people to this day that do steroids. You'd be shocked some of the people we know that do steroids, just so they can have bulging biceps.
Right.
The
right. It's
or
not,
go
it's
to the
not,
pool.
Right. It's not increasing.
It's
their
like
revenue,
vanity,
right?
and people do this drug.
Right.
You're talking about if you went up to any American man, if you went up to 100 American men and said, listen, and they're struggling to put food on the table, and they're trying to get there and get to retirement, worried about Social Security, all this bull, and you said to them, there's 100 million there, you got to do steroids for the next 5 years. How many people out of 100 are saying no? When they see the money right there, it's theirs. So the bottom line is, I think you shouldn't judge people in any situation unless you walked in their shoes. But it is cheating. And are they curbing it enough? I don't believe they are, because a slap on the wrist, you don't take their money, they still get that guaranteed contract, they still get the MVP awards or wherever else they won, and they just have to serve a suspension. Ryan Braun kept all his money. Barry Bonds kept all his money. He kept all the records. The records are still there. So maybe you don't go to the Hall. But let me ask you, would you rather be in the Hall and retire with $1 million or not be in the Hall and retire with $200 million? I think it's pretty close.
Yeah,
it's pretty obvious.
I mean, absolutely. So
I just think that, but anyway.
Look, I think society in general right now, we're struggling with the whataboutism. The kind of, maybe it was a rolling boulder that's just been picking up steam over these years and the decades. But we seem now to very much be in the heart of the whataboutism era, where no matter what you're called out for, you're allowed now to just simply say, well, everybody does it.
Yeah.
Or that person does it. Or what about this person who either did the same thing or did something worse or whatever? I mean, of course, Trump has mastered this. I mean, the timing of Trump, I had a thought the other day. I thought to myself, I think we created Trump. When I say we, like society almost created what was needed for this to happen. Where we can have this person come in and lie the amount of times he lies. But then you ask some people, what about all the lying?
What about Hillary?
Everybody lies. All politicians lie. Everybody lies. Okay, so we have to accept that. Well, he did this. Well, what about with this person? So we have to accept. And it's like, how did this happen? How do we allow it to get to this point
and now it's just accepted,
right? Where it's just accepted that you can't really do wrong. But I find myself wondering, so many of these people out there who might have kids, elementary school, middle-aged type kids. I mean, how do you juggle that? How do you go to your kid and try to teach them? If you get a call from your kid's principal and he says, Leah, your boy Billy beat up Sally, a little second grade girl, and he's in 5th grade or whatever. And you go to punish him, and he's like, "Well, but Dad, Steven beat up a 1st grade girl last week." Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, then you're okay. Yeah. What? Yeah. But that's what we're doing out there. That's what a lot of adults are now doing when we are excusing the actions of whether it's politicians or CEOs or whatever the case may be, simply by saying everybody else does do it in some form, or
all politicians are crooked.
Right. I can give you an example of somebody else who did something even worse, did that, but to a worse degree. So I now don't have to hold that person accountable.
Yeah.
Where does it end?
I mean, the question degrees. I remember John Oliver did a special on Hillary versus Trump before the election. It was the two of them going head to head, and he said, "Here's your average politician." He pulled out a cookie. I would implore you to watch this. It was one of the best metaphor, analogy, whatever. He pulls out a cookie with chocolate chips. He says, or raisins. He says, "See the raisins in this cookie? This is your average politician. That's how many lies they tell." He's like, "This is Hillary." He pulls out one with a lot of freaking raisins. He's like, "And here's Trump." And the whole roof opens up and millions of raisins just cover it.
Right.
And so that's the problem, is degrees.
Ah.
Yeah, so when you say like a lot of politicians lie, or all politicians lie, it's like, okay, they lie maybe once every 2 weeks.
Right.
And a lot of times it's benign or it's some white lie. But then you got somebody that's lying 30 times a day. Absolutely. And the fact that you can compare them, that's scary. And I think that's what you were getting at.
Absolutely.
The fact that you can say, yeah, I lie 30 times a day, but he lies once every 2 weeks. I mean, he lies. What's the difference?
That's it. Right.
Like, whoa. Like, that's crazy. Or this guy cheated on his wife. Yeah, but it was like 3 years ago. He was on a trip. He was drunk and he cried to his wife and he's getting counseling. Right. And this guy cheats all the time.
Right.
All the time he thinks it's cool.
Right. This guy's
so how is that the same? Right. Yeah, they both cheated.
This guy bangs hookers every week. And this guy got caught cheating on his wife 3 years ago. Had an affair.
In a really tough situation where a lot of guys might have fallen victim.
Right.
Still their fault and still bad.
Absolutely.
And still going to deserve consequence, maybe a divorce and whatever. But you're going to compare the guy that does it all the time.
You're going to put them on the same moral ground.
Same thing. Yeah, it's just, that's the problem.
Same guy, same thing.
Right.
No, it's not. And we know it's not, but I don't understand why,
It's just justification. People just want to justify. They want to say, oh, well, this guy's horrible. Yeah, well, your guy did that.
I think people don't want to care nowadays, man. That's it, man. Maybe people just feel they're so busy, they're so consumed with, with their shows or their, just people don't want to care. So is a guy like Trump able to come along and just, kind of say, hey, I know what you most want. You don't want to care and you don't want to have to worry about this. So let me just, I'll just feed you, right? The very thing that we know if our kid said that to us, we'd say, no. But, from an adult perspective, it lets us off the hook of having to care. I don't know, but
well,
we out of time.
That's it.
That's it. All right. So listen, let's speed round through a few that we might have missed here. Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Are we witnessing the beginning of a dynasty? Yes or no?
No.
No. I agree. Too much disparity.
Maybe because Mahomes is so damn great.
Right.
And if they can keep a few of those weapons.
And Lamar. I mean, a lot of other young
came on at the
guys.
end. If they can keep the defense solid, yeah, then maybe it's possible. Definitely possible.
Why not? The XFL started up. Are you watching?
No interest whatsoever.
Me neither.
No interest whatsoever.
Listen, I love football, but I think what makes football great, like a lot of things, is the wait. When you have to wait for something, it makes it all the more special when it's here.
Right.
Sure, it sucks when it's gone, but
it makes you miss it more. It's like your wife. If she's always there and you never have a night out or you never go away, it's like you just learn to appreciate things when you're lacking. And some people don't even appreciate their freedom until they get locked up in jail. And then they're like, holy shit, I took it for granted. I mean, it's an extreme example, but sometimes you just need to have that break. Like when Game of Thrones was over on a Sunday night.
Right.
If it was going to be Monday night, it would be a big deal. But the fact you got to wait a whole week or sometimes a season, that's what gets you. I think.
Absolutely. All right, so we're gonna save some of the. We're gonna hop into some politics, but it was primarily about the Democratic, primary, of course, with Nevada coming up this weekend. So we'll wait until after this weekend, until next week, and we'll talk, kind of see where we're at, what happened with Nevada. Real quickly, some shows you're watching right now that the audience should tune into.
I just got done watching. Well, right now I'm watching Homeland. I'm watching Narcos, Mexico Part 2. Curb Your Enthusiasm's actually been pretty decent. It was horrible last season. It's pretty good. The New Pope with John Malkovich is awesome. I love Malkovich. And I'm about to get ready for Better Call Saul, Billions.
Yeah, Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
That's right around the corner.
Yeah, it's just they just had a sneak preview, so I think
next week or two, right? Perfect. We'll talk next week about The Pharmacist. That's
awesome.
That I think a lot more people are going to have watched that by then, so that should be should be fine to talk about that. But that was an awesome show. And then if you're not watching it, McMillions.
You were saying McMillions.
Yeah, McMillions.
And you're also saying The Outsider.
The Outsider, absolutely, man. The Outsider is.
I'm bogged down right now on so many shows. But.
Yeah, well, obviously, I mean that was probably just a partial list.
Oh yeah. I mean, I just finished like
you threw
6
out
or 7.
All right, so I think that's other than that.
We'll have plenty to talk about next week.
Do you should you have to ask the person behind you to recline your seat on an airplane or not?
You shouldn't be able to until these airlines stop being cheap and give us more space.
Right.
Otherwise, there's no room.
Yeah.
If they're in your lap, that can't be.
Everybody stay
So
up.
be mad at the airline.
Everybody
Don't
stay
be mad
up.
at the guy
Right.
in front of you.
Right. Be mad, right? Exactly, and keep the seats up. Everybody then
Keep them up and have better things for your neck.
Sure.
There should be better things because man, there's nothing worse than when you fall asleep and you fall and you get all scared and you wake back up.
And so we have Amazon nowadays. If people don't
Yeah.
understand that, you have more options now than just like the neck pillow they
Yeah,
sell
yeah.
at the airport. I remember when I went to Europe, I bought this thing and it like straps around you and like rest here on your shoulder.
Yeah, I have the same thing.
And, like,
I can't figure it out.
It's beautiful though.
Yeah,
I mean,
I had a hard time on mine. Maybe I need to.
right.
Maybe I threw away the instructions.
It's not as easy as the neck pillow, but all right. Well, hey, hopefully everybody enjoyed this.
Yeah, I hope so.
I know I did.
I enjoyed it. It wasn't just football. It was like things going on in the world. I like it. We'll talk about football too. But.
Absolutely. So spring training, preseason.
You're gonna watch the Cheaters are at the road. The Astros.
Right on the. Oh well, no. I was talking about us. I was using the analogy. But game 1 preseason is in the books.
Yep.
Hopefully we only need a couple to get
we'll
fully
tweak it a
warmed
little
up.
bit.
And but yeah, next week we're looking forward. We'll talk more about the shows that we're watching. Break down The Pharmacist. Got a lot to talk about there,
Yep,
and then also
absolutely.
what's going on in the Democratic primaries, and of course whatever else comes up. Have a great week, everybody. Peace.